Oh, welcome back, Black Magic TV. And tonight in the Black Magic Mansion. Thanks for the name. Matt Nicky came up with that. Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast. Go check him out. But tonight, with me, I have my OG homie, number one soul brother, Mr. Rory Cameron.
Hey,
Thanks for coming by, Rory.
Yeah,
For those that don't know, Rory is a rock and roller. I think that's the best way to describe. That's about the best way to describe everything you do.
A jack of one trade.
Yeah, the jack of
master
one trade.
Of none.
The jack of rock and roll that just turns everything into that.
Yeah, the Duke of Puke.
Oh, well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah.
Rory actually, coincidentally, happened to move a few houses down from me a few months ago, just randomly. We didn't even know it until he just stopped me. I thought somebody was trying to jack me one day because they creeped up on me, and I looked over. It's just Rory in his car. I was like, oh shit, I thought I was getting robbed.
Yeah. I was gonna rob you.
Yeah, until you realized it was me.
Yeah. Like, who's this mark ass punk in this fucking hood?
Yeah, we live in a wild neighborhood. It's fun though.
Yeah, that's all right.
We got a lot to talk about. Let's start off because Rory. Let's start off with the new band, new record, just came out. Scratch and Sniff by the Whiffs.
You gotta scratch the sticker.
Oh, does it smell?
Yeah.
Oh, that's tight. It smells like a banana.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Little Velvet's reference.
I listened to it. Rory just brought me this, which rules. So I'll be able to listen to it on vinyl. But I did listen to the record already on Spotify, and I dig it a lot. It's very power poppy. I guess tell me, did we start with the Whiffs or did we go back to the beginning?
Oh God, what was the beginning?
I mean, where did you grow up in town? Did you grow up in Kansas City?
I grew up in North KC mostly, but my dad lived in the city, or I don't know. We just moved all the time. I've lived all over the place, but I moved down to Florida with my mom when I was 9. But my dad still lived here, so I was always
jumping
either
back
driving
and forth,
or flying up by myself and stuff. Since I was a little kid, flying alone and stuff, but coming and seeing him. But I was still down there, and got into punk and stuff, and was knew some kids up here and started going to shows at El Torreon and shit like that back in the day. And
that's when it would have been.
It was still the El Torreon,
right? The early on then, because
I guess it's probably later if you're on KC years, because it was towards the end of it.
Towards the end of it, yeah. What part of Florida were you living in?
I moved to Sarasota, and then we lived there. I went to most of middle school there, and then I moved up the coast to Tarpon Springs, Florida, which is north of St. Pete.
Yeah.
It's a weird. It has the largest population of Greek people in the country.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's super Greek town. They always do this.
Aggression.
They do the Greek Orthodox church there. They have this thing every year. I think it's right around now where it's called the Epiphany.
Whoa.
And they throw this cross in the water, and it's pretty cold. I mean, Florida cold, but these kids, all these teenage boys dive in the water, and whoever gets the cross, they're blessed.
Wow.
Yeah, but I know 2 of the dudes that won that shit.
They were not blessed.
No, they went on to do some heinous shit.
Yeah.
I think one guy beat somebody to death in a road rage
I wonder
incident
if that
or
is
something
that
like that.
Similar to being a Catholic, where if you're blessed, that you're just
it's
the chosen one.
Yeah,
for the
Greek
priest
Orthodoxy is based off
yeah, that's wild.
But yeah, so that was kind of a weird place to live. But yeah, it was that's kind of where I started playing in bands and stuff, and started my own bands, and I don't know, I was already into kind of the stuff that we're doing, but had to get all my friends into whatever. But like even like the stuff the Wisps are doing, like power pop wise, it was nobody knew about that stuff. So
no, not at that. What year did you graduate high school?
05.
05, yeah. So I graduated 02. So, but nobody knew
I just
about that.
I just had Soul Seek, man. Like
Yeah.
I don't like. I would read. You know, I was like into. Like I got into like punk, so it was like 70s punk,
right?
And I'd read like about the Clash or the Sex Pistols or the New York Dolls or whatever, like, and I would just get into what they were listening to. So I got into like the Small Faces and the Kinks, and I don't know what, you know, just like went back.
That's exactly how I got. Well, Rory and I really met and became friends when we were in our 20s, and we all had bands and played garage rock, and Rory actually came and he played on the music that my old band recorded. He's on that record.
What?
Yeah, you don't remember when we were all at Vinny's for doing the Savage 7?
I'm on it?
Yeah. That's how high we were, guys. We were smoking a lot of weed back then. Yeah, you played lead on like 2 of the songs.
I'd have to hear it. Shit.
Yeah.
I don't recall this.
You don't recall it at all? Oh, no, yeah, it was good times. But that was a long time ago, though, too, dude. That was like 10 or 15 years ago.
Oh, man.
That was a long time ago. In Vinny's, yeah, because everyone was there. Skylar, me, you, Troy, Jared. Who knows who was all there?
Wow.
There was like times where we'd just be passing around instruments. Like, all right, you try something on this one.
Okay,
guy.
yeah, I guess it makes sense. I don't know. We were doing stuff back then.
We were doing lots of stuff back then. Vince especially was doing stuff back then.
Yeah.
When did you move back to Kansas City full time?
Like 06.
Okay. So
yeah,
like right after.
Yeah, I couldn't. I was gonna go to prison if I stayed in Florida, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to get like too personal, but like
doing wild things.
I was, you know, it was just too hard. Like even in 05 or whatever, like a 2-bedroom apartment was like $800 a month in Florida, and like the buses on my county didn't run on the weekends, and I just couldn't find. It was like after the economic collapse, you know,
yeah,
and all this stuff, and I couldn't find a job anywhere, and my mom has a bad history of dating stupid men, but yeah, I'm gonna stab somebody to death, and I was like, I gotta move.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here.
I'm gonna
go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now,
at least be able to get on my feet. Yeah.
What did your dad do?
He sells car wash supplies.
Nice.
He's a salesman. So like that was the first job I had when I came back. I worked in the warehouse.
Oh, cool.
At the shipping department of this car wash supply distributor.
Nice.
Yeah.
Perfect for being in a band, though. Really. Like,
not really. No.
Just work all day and rock and roll all night. Yeah, but you're like 19.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but
you don't want to work at all.
Well, I got fired. I worked there for 3 years and I busted my ass.
Right.
But when I started out, since I had no experience, they're like, we'll give you $8 an hour.
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's crazy.
And it's in a 2-person shipping department where I picked and pulled everything.
Yeah.
Like, and truck shipments, all this stuff. And after 3 years, I was making $8.50 an hour.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, it was just.
In what year?
Like
07,
06, 07. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And they're like,
crazy.
So, you know, I started really not giving a shit and like showing up late and stuff. And they're like, you really got to show initiative. And it's like, for what?
Yeah, I was making like double that just working at like O'Reilly Auto Parts then.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I think when I got fired from there, I just like coasted on the unemployment for like a year and was like busking and stuff, and that's how I made a living for a long time.
Yeah, just
playing
roaming,
music.
Yeah. And so you already had new people here, so I'm assuming that like some of the people that we're still friends with now were probably some of the cats that you met when you were coming up here going to the Altorion.
Actually, no.
Really?
No, like Vinny and Troy and all those guys, or like Mitch or whatever, I didn't meet them until I was like back here already.
Moving.
And like all the kids I met initially were like punk kids. You know, not like rock and roller punk kids, or like
Right.
they were like straight up punk kids, and excuse me. I think I met like Davey Gant in that scene.
Yep.
And like a couple other people, but how I even met like all the dudes in like the Rich Boys was because I was hanging out with those kids and I was at a show at like Valhalla.
Okay.
And the Rich Boys played. It was like their second show, and I was like, yes.
These are the people I've been looking for.
Because there wasn't like like even in Florida, like my friends, I had to like push them to like play the type of music I wanted to.
Right, and when you came back here, that was like the kind of thing that was going on.
Well, I mean, not really. It was still kind of the same thing. I had to push people, but like the Rich Boys were like, oh, okay, this band's like coming from something. It seems like they were like kind of striking on something that like they didn't even have a reference for.
Right.
You know, they're like, I've heard the Velvet Underground, and I grew up with Bob Seger or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And it somehow turned into like some niche
rock and roll.
Yeah, like because I gave like Mitch a CD that I had in like my dad's like Ford Focus or whatever. We were like skateboarding, and it's like it was like the Nerves and Teenage Fan Club, and I don't even remember what else was on it, but it was like a bunch of shit like that, and like I know he'd never heard any of it, but it's like right up his alley, you know, like so I think that like I don't know, it was just like a bond immediately on just like somebody's doing something cool.
You found
and that's what I've been looking for.
Yeah.
This is funny. Those kids are all like Smithville suburbanites. Like,
that's the weirdest part. The amount of like how they all like, because I met them. I must have met Troy when you guys had. Was it Black Tarantulas?
Yeah, that was the first. No, it wasn't the first band. No,
TV Eyes.
TV Eyes was the first.
And that was because that's what's weird. Skylar, Gatlin, Davey, Troy, Vinny, like all these cats that grew up together in Smithville all end up down here downtown.
Yeah.
And they're all like, those guys really kind of, I don't know, they were all, it's just a weird thing that all these.
I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's like if they're like clique that you're like kids you know in high school in your little podunk town. If like somebody gets hip on, I mean, it's kind of what I was doing in Florida.
Right, but it's just odd that all those
somebody got hip to like some kind of culture, and they like put all their friends on
for sure,
and then like that's what they're doing. That's
and
you're like, we know the thing that nobody else does. You know, we're fucking cool, and that's kind of what I guess what I was like doing with my friends in Florida in a way. But still, I had a bunch of friends that were in all. I don't know. Florida's different.
Florida's weird.
Yeah.
Florida's a wild. Those people are not unhinged, but they're just wild. You know, they're untamed.
I mean, like this.
It's a wild place because
it's kind of the way I look at it, man.
Yeah.
It's like
they're untamed people.
I moved there for absolutely no reason. My mom just drove down there one day. Like she just dipped. And like came back, she's like, we're moving to Florida. She just like found a house. She has this like she'll just like break out sometimes, or especially back then. And like she was like with this dude forever, and like we had like a meth lab in our basement, and like
wild
living in like motels after that and stuff. And then like I don't know what
it got crazy.
See, but I was a kid though, so it was like I didn't fucking know, like. But, like, you know, when we were staying in motels and shit, I was like, you know, there's vending machines. Sometimes there's a pool. You know, you jump on the beds or whatever. Like, it was fun.
It was cool.
But, like, the way I looked at it was, like, moving to Florida, it's like, I don't know. It's like the white trash. Like, it is North Kansas City as a state or something, or, like, Independence. But, like, there's beaches and palm trees and shit. So people are always fucking hype because...
Anywhere that there's alligators, like
you're like
people are fucking wild, dude. Like,
it's the alligators.
You have to be. I mean, you have to be crazy. I had a homie in college, and I went to his family was from West Palm, And he took me there. His dad was like a fireman. His mom had some job. But the way their house was and the way all the houses were in West Palm Beach, Florida, I thought, like, number one is like, where's the hood at? Like, there was no ghetto.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, West
but
Palm Beach
also,
is like retirement.
I know, but
You
there's
know.
always there's like a shitty part. But even where his parents lived, I assumed that they were rich. Like, when we pulled up, I'm like, yo, what do your parents do? And he's like, my dad's a fireman. I'm like, yo, dog. Like, this looks like a mansion. It was crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then the first night I'm there, I wake up in the morning, there's a fucking alligator in the backyard. And I'm like, yo, what the fuck? And
They're like
all,
roaches.
to them, it's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, that thing's like, you guys are crazy, man. I'll take the drug cartel over alligators.
Go hit it with a broom,
dude.
man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Those people are they're
Get
just
out
like,
my yard,
I think it just makes wild people, you know?
Yeah, it does. There is a weird, like, Florida KC connection, though. I know mad fools that, like, see all the time that, like, live here that I'm, like, homies with. And it's like, there's a thing that it's like maybe.
That were from Florida originally?
Yeah. Like, but, like, there's a thing where it's like, you know, it's like the connection about, like, how wild it is in a weird way. Like, you wouldn't understand unless you've, like, done that shit or whatever.
Yeah, it's.
But on another weird Florida KC connection, like, I have a kid that I went to high school with. We were in a Spanish class. He was a year younger than me. He lives in New York. Do you remember Samson? That was in, like, Under Ogre with Davey?
I think so, yeah.
So me and Samson, he's from KC. We have the same birthday, same year, same hospital. Both North Kansas City Hospital. Like, we could have got switched at birth. But he lives in New York with a kid I went to high school with in Florida. And I did not introduce them.
That's crazy.
Like, that's some real. So every time we're in New York, that's usually who we stay with.
I have a homegirl from when I was a teenager, Jackie. And her parents just one day, like, out of nowhere, they were just like, peace. And they moved to Florida. And then, like, eventually she got tired of, like, grinding up here, you know what I mean? So she's like, fuck it, I'm going to Florida. She's been down in Port St. Lucie since then. Like, she's married now and has a baby.
That's
cool. I was just like, that's wild that you just up and...
Yeah, I
like,
don't know. I just don't know what the difference on the grind is because, I mean, it's seasonal. And I guess it depends on what you do.
Yeah.
But, like, I just think, like, service industry person, I think. But
right, because you're in the service industry. With what I do, I can, like, go anywhere whenever. But I've been, like, I didn't like the people's attitude down in, like, I didn't have a good experience in Florida. I went there as a kid.
I didn't either,
Disney
man.
World,
yeah.
And it's like, I felt the same way when me and Vinny and Troy and Jared all went on that tour that time. And we went to the West Coast, and when we got to California, I'd waited my whole life to get to California. You know, hot rods, choppers, you know, all this shit I'm into. I get there, and it was like, the only cool thing was, like, this dude we knew from here in Portland gave me this weed brownie because I had been driving everywhere. He's like, here, you're staying sober, so you take this weed brownie, you eat it tomorrow in San Francisco. So we got to San Francisco, and I went buck wild, dude. I went out of my mind.
On the weed brownie?
On the weed brownie, getting,
I mean,
drinking Four Locos. Like, and San Francisco was cool. But
there are, like, cool old cars you'll see around San Francisco
like,
and stuff because they're not, like, salting the roads and shit.
I spent half that trip trying to keep Troy off fucking dope. Sitting in a van with a needle junkie.
In San Francisco.
In San Francisco.
Yeah.
Dude, in
you would have
Seattle,
lost him in the fucking Tenderloin in a heartbeat.
I remember in Seattle.
He would have just become one of the homeless people.
Oh, no. He would try to go to the Tenderloin, and I had to stop him. He tried to go to Oakland at one point on a bus. He wanted to go to the Tenderloin. I'm like, dog. And I was already hip because I had already been here, like, doing street shit. And I was, like, hip to, like, some people I knew turned me on to, like, what to stay away from and where not to go. And, like, everywhere we went. We're in Seattle. There's some dude that they knew. There's a Cheetah Chrome concert.
Yeah.
So instead of, like, spending the money to go see Cheetah Chrome, right? Because we had that.
Yeah.
We walked from the top of the hill in Seattle here all the way to the down and back up to the Space Needle to buy a bag of Coke from this dude in the alley of the Fun House where this show is, and then we had to do the cocaine just to have enough energy to fucking. It was like the stupidest
you got
thing
so
ever.
tired
Because it's so tired walking that stupid ass long ass way.
And well, Seattle and San Francisco are pretty hilly, you know.
Oh, dude, I remember I was fat as fuck, but I never. We went on that trip, and I just remember we broke down. I had to push the van. Like we went to Venice Beach. Like
you got to have enough money to get the drugs and go to the show.
It's like, and we're sitting there, and I'm telling them, I'm like, dude, this is fucking Cheetah Chrome, and it's like one of those situations where they're kind of like, well, who the fuck is that? I'm like, the fucking Dead Boys.
I met him briefly.
Really?
Yeah, because we played when the Whiff started. We played a whole week of South by.
Yeah. Okay.
Like when we've been a band for like 3 months, and it was like Dead Boys reformed, and they had Bobby Liebling from Pentagram singing. Mm-hmm. And so the first night we were there.
That's a weird.
Dude.
Probably crushed.
It was like, I was like, what the fuck's gonna be like? But the first night we were there, we were playing this like billiard hall. And there was like all these punk shows, like our friend put on these, like set up all these shows. And Bobby Liebling showed up the first night. And we're like, but like we heard like he's like under strict instruction, like he's not allowed to go anywhere.
Right.
Or like don't like let him out of your sight because he will fucking disappear
and start smoking crack and shit
or something. Yeah, and then so the night that the Dead Boys were playing, we were playing at Hotel Vegas, and they had a stage outside, but we were playing inside like a couple bands before them. So like we had to wait a minute, and I was smoking a cigarette like by the front door, and Cheetah Chrome walks up with these two girls, like arms around him, and there's like this girl working the door or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm playing or whatever. He's like, also my other girlfriend's coming.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, like, it's not really nice to meet you.
Yeah. It's like weird that people like that most people freak out about. It's like we'd be like, what the hell ever, but like for us, it's like the weirdest. Like I want to.
I just thought it was funny.
Oh
like,
yeah, dude.
Like I don't. I don't get starstruck very easily because it's like this bald ginger kind like
this weird old dude, but it's like also you're like you're
you're the Dead Boys, but it's like
no, that's rad. I remember us going to South by.
Yeah,
fucking that time, 5 of us in a Pontiac Sunfire.
Yeah, bucket seats in the back.
Bucket seats in the back.
A lot of fun.
That was not fun. But I remember that was the first time I'd ever heavy dosed on mushrooms. And I carried that chocolate around all day. And I finally just ate the whole thing. And I'll never forget you coming up to me like right before it kicked in. And you were like, just remember, none of this is real, man. And I like had the best night ever that night. This is fucking great. That was a great time though.
Yeah.
There's that great video you and I talked about not long ago of me and you trolling Jared from the Blacklist.
Well, we were just there.
Yeah. That was great.
I just love the way that worked out too. Like just the like they weren't gonna let us in that show, and the boys were like, oh, we're gonna climb up this dumpster and watch it, and we were both like, fuck that. And like you were already by that gate, and then I just walked over and I saw fucking Cole, and I was like, hey, and this lady's like trying to shoo us away.
Yeah.
And then like he's like taking a picture, and then he like turns like this, like walks up and takes our picture.
And then he was like that lady. Then he told that lady like, "Oh,
yeah, we got the like bands.
We got the bands."
And then we were
sitting there flipping off the boys. Then they got and they got to get off the dumpster.
Yeah. And we were like, just right up front for the whole show. It was awesome.
Fuck, dude, that was a rad trip.
Yeah, and then we got to go to that fucking It was off and Odd Future.
Odd Future and Whole Wheat Bread.
Whole Wheat Bread.
Yeah, you don't remember that punk band? The all-black punk band that opened that show? Whole Wheat Bread. I'll never forget that.
I missed that one.
But
then
I remember us standing there.
And stuff.
And and Adam Wendell and I were standing there, and I kept looking at Adam, and I kept going, dude, I don't think we're supposed to be here. And he went, what do you mean? And I looked over, I was like, and fucking, who was Spider-Man? Tobey Maguire is standing there. I'm like, dude, fucking Spider-Man is standing right
There was
next to
Tobey
you.
Maguire was there?
Yeah. And then we started looking around, and it was like, oh, like, this is like we're at like a
You guys
thing.
were in the VIP section?
I think so. I think we weaseled our way over to the VIP.
Shit, I don't know.
But I think it was just one of those things. Like, it was a cool... We were downtown in an abandoned office building at a Vice magazine
That was the funniest
party.
thing, too, because we got put on that guest list, and then
Yeah.
walked up, and I had me plus y'all, like,
Yeah.
and Wendell just tagged along, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get you in.
Adam had that...
And
he had that fake... Adam went online and found out... This is how Adam got in everywhere. He found out what Apple's press pass looked like.
Oh.
And he made a bootleg Apple press pass.
What I remember specifically, there was this huge line, and we just walked straight to the front. Everyone's like, what the fuck? And, like, I was like, hey, I got me plus 4.
Yeah.
But there was actually 5 of us, and the guy was like, what? What do you want? And I was like, yeah, I got me plus 4.
We were on the list.
And he looks and he goes, you plus 5? I was like, yep. Yeah, because it was supposed to just be the 4 of us. But
that was it was a Vice
Wendell in.
party, and that's when the Black Lips would have been on the Vice.
That's
Records
also when
deal.
me and Wendell just decided to be like, yeah, you guys just leave us.
Yeah,
Just
we
leave
just
us in
left
Texas.
you guys
Leave
in
us
Texas.
in Texas.
Yeah, we did leave you guys in Texas.
Yeah.
Then I remember I was so
Ugh.
tired because we left that night.
Yeah. The baby
And
mama was blowing it up, too.
I drove... we got to Dallas, stopped to get something to eat, and everybody else was asleep. And I realized they have like a loop around Dallas, and I had just driven around the loop once, and I was just like, oh fuck. And then Jared woke up, was like, what are you doing, dude? And I'm like, fuck man, I don't know. I can't stay away. I've been doing drugs for days and like haven't slept.
Yeah, that was.
We didn't even have a place to stay. We had to crash in some random person's hotel
I slept on the
room.
ground.
Yeah.
I remember sleeping outside of the car, or took a nap or something. Just like,
We slept.
Whatever.
There was somebody affiliated with the Middle of the Map Fest that like.
yeah,
was
they
like,
let us
And
stay.
Dutch, I think Dutch shared that room with somebody, and they let us in there. Then they're like, "Yeah, you guys have to sleep on the floor, though." We were like, "Ah, damn, whatever."
Yeah,
Cool with me.
I'll take a floor. I sleep like a baby back bitch on the floor.
Oh, dude, I'll sleep.
I wake up early and stuff too because I'm not sleeping good, but I always
Yeah.
feel fine.
Oh yeah, I feel great. We were deep in it. Lots of shows then.
Yeah.
And then the evolution of that kind of went to get to the whiffs. It was Black Tarantulas into
Well,
rock.
no, because it was at that time. So, did Black Tarantulas, which was like that was me and Troy and these other guys, but
whoever the fuck else was in that.
But then that ended, and we started doing Wrong Crowd.
Right.
But Troy was gone, but that's when like Bleach Bloods were like covering a bunch of Black Tarantulas songs.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I remember like feeling a little like the fuck, like because like they were getting like a lot of like love like
right.
locally, and it's like nobody cared about that song a year ago, or what, like
Yeah.
So like I don't know, maybe they just had the look or something, but like I just was like,
Fuck you guys.
like I wrote these songs, like
Yeah.
I wrote a bunch of these songs,
Yeah.
like,
You did write most of those songs.
yeah,
I think.
but then so I was doing Wrong Crowd, but then I don't know
What
how.
happened after Wrong Crowd?
That's when I started doing
Conquerors,
yeah.
right? And then that's when Troy and I left because we had the Savage 7 at the same time they had the
Yeah.
Bleach Bloods. Because one day Troy was just like, "Yo, dog, you write music?" He like caught me like singing or something, and I was like, and we were like behind some like. We were like way out in Overland Park at some like weird bar where they shouldn't have been playing at. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
They would book weird shows. Like
yeah, and he was
that.
like,
Bowling alley.
and we
or
were
something.
standing in the alley, like getting stoned, and he's like, "Yeah, sing me one of these songs you wrote." And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "No, like right here." I'm like, "I don't have a guitar." He's like, "You don't need a guitar, just sing me the words." And I sang him the words, and then he's like, "Hey, you guys, come here." He's like, "Listen to this fucking guy." And so he made me sing it to like everybody else, and then that's when I was like, Vinny talked to me and was like, "Well, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Well, I need a band to like play them."
Yeah.
And then I played him one of the things. And he's like, "They're all that easy." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, I suck at guitar." And that's how that whole thing started.
Yeah.
That's how the Savage 7 started.
I mean, dude, props to Troy though. Like,
Oh,
that
yeah.
guy was like always the realest. Like,
I still talk to him sometimes.
every time our Whiff's label is in Richmond,
Oh,
where he
sick.
lives. So every time we go out there,
Yeah.
we hang out.
Yeah. He's
I
still
was trying
rolls.
to find him on Instagram.
I think he's
the
still
other day, but-
clean, last I knew. Clean
Yeah.
light. Clean light.
Well, I mean, not.
I don't think he's doing the dope. I know
No,
he
yeah,
he
that's-
drinks. Yeah, no,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
clean off dope. That's clean to me.
Yeah,
for
that's
him.
clean to me too.
Yeah, that's clean to me for him. He's not on the hard
A lot
shit.
of people I know that like get that far, like they can't
do anything.
because it's all.
No, best thing that he did, because he moved down to Tennessee with me, and we were living down in
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee, and like,
Was that where Kyle was living?
no, not Kyle was there, but he was in a different town. I
Mm-hmm.
moved to Knoxville to like get out of town because some shit went down,
Hard Knoxville. Yeah.
and then Troy came, and then some shit went down there. So one day we just like took the money and ran. We sold all of our shit, jumped in the Sunfire, came back to town, and then
Jumped
like
in the Sunfire.
the Sunfire, baby. And then a couple weeks after that, he took off to DC.
Yeah.
And then when he went there, the first thing he did was start getting clean.
Yeah.
So it was the best thing for him. But he's crushing it. Troy,
Yeah.
if you're out there, what up, dog?
What's up?
People are gonna watch this, be like, who the fuck?
Yeah.
Are
Who are all these
There's like
dickheads
17
they're talking
people.
about?
Yeah. But honestly, you guys can go find the Bleach Bloods on Spotify. Vinny put all
Oh,
that
really?
shit on Spotify now,
Right on.
which you ought to do the same with like the Wrong Crowd shit if you have any of it.
There's some of it. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of stuff that like was in the past. What happened and it's lost forever is because MySpace.
Yeah, my.
You know, they like did some like they were trying to do like all the music that was ever on MySpace is gone.
No shit.
Yeah, they were like trying to do some data transfer and like lost all of it.
Fuck.
So like there's
But
stuff
who
that I wish
recorded
I
that
could get a
stuff?
hold of. For Ron Crowd?
Yeah.
Brenton Wheeler did because he went to BRC and
Oh yeah.
so like we had when we were
Remember
living
that?
at the
That guy
Charles
still
we were
around?
living at the Charles Mansion
Yeah.
and we like set up stuff in the basement.
Because I think Vinny has a hard drive that has everything he ever recorded.
He's got
up in
some stuff. Yeah,
Smithville.
no, I've got like Google Drive folders.
You got Conqueror stuff. Is that
Yeah.
stuff up on
There-
Spotify? at all?
the record we put out is on
Yeah.
Spotify.
Well, because you guys were getting to heavy traction with that band too, right?
Yeah,
Because you opened up for that Nathaniel Ratcliffe guy,
yeah.
that's tight.
Yeah, and that's like kind of when I started doing the whiffs too, but
Right.
which my original, yeah.
Well, you get to a point, and it's the same thing, right, dude? Like, if
Branches, but
not that, but like, if obviously Jakey's always down with you, right?
yeah, he
Jake-
always says he's on my spaceship. But
Yeah, like he's always down. He's down to do music.
yeah,
But at a point, like, there becomes a time where it's like, yo, Vinny's a family man. Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was back then, too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So the idea that Vince was just going to quit his job and, like,
sure, yeah.
go on a
that's-
tour, that wasn't going to happen. So you have to, like, I think it's like an evolution where I've always felt that, like, the music you write, dude, like, there's something to the music you write. Like, and I don't know
I
if people
appreciate
tell
that,
you
yeah.
that, but, like, there really is. Like, there's a reason why those same songs you wrote, like, you were just ahead of your time, and then the next summer, here's this other group of dudes that are your homies, like, playing them for funsies because they like the songs.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like a thing where people are like, oh shit, this is awesome. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
actually, that's
But I-
Rory's band. You know
the
what I
funny
mean?
thing is, I know it's like funny that I was like even like kind of jealous because I was like I didn't want to play those songs anymore. I didn't like them.
Right.
So it's like, but I'm just like being a fucking picky, finicky artist bitch.
Yeah,
you know,
that'll
like-
happen. But I think there's something to it, and I'm glad that you're like, because you're a second record now with the Whiffs, right?
It's-
Like,
We have an EP,
right.
but I don't know. It's
So third recording.
the way everybody talks. It, like, I don't know. Like I think it's our second record because the EP we did that shit in a night.
Right.
Like so we had tapes. To
Well, the
sell
EP
at
was
South
self-released, correct?
by. High Dive did it.
High Dive
actually.
did it.
Yeah, but that
So
was just
who did What is
Dig
this on a
did our
label?
last record too. Dig Records.
Okay, Dig Records.
Out of Richmond, Virginia,
Okay.
or Leesburg, Virginia.
So High Dive, which is the bar.
No, it's the local label here.
Okay, but there's a bar with the
Jeff
same
McCoy.
name.
Yeah, there's bars called High Dive everywhere.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. Is it like a chain?
No.
That's
I don't know
odd.
why. Maybe it's because it's a dive bar.
I guess there's also Blind Tigers everywhere too.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
found out, which is a weird thing. Like,
Yeah. It's a dive. Is it because it's a dive bar? And
I don't know.
You gotta
I've
get
never.
really
I think I
high.
went to High Dive
High
once,
to go
and
there.
I
There's
didn't
a High
even go
Dive in Denver,
inside.
yeah.
I went to the. There is a High Dive in Denver. That's
Yeah.
right. Denver had a good music scene back in the day because I lived in Wyoming for a year.
a lot of jam bands, but no, there's some good. No, we got a friend.
Yeah.
Our buddy's been Fast Eddie, the guy that like came out to Europe with us.
Oh,
from Denver.
and the twins, Ross.
Yeah,
and
they live out
They
there.
live out there,
Yeah.
and Ross has like some crazy like 70s.
Oh, it's cool.
It's great. Eagle. What the fuck is their name? Thunder Eagle? No, that was a band here. Ross, I'm sorry if you watch this. I don't.
Yeah.
I can't. It's beyond me right
it's
now.
because you're.
Because I want to say what it is.
Yeah, you lost me.
What was their band? Because they were from Springfield.
They were in the Gorlons.
The Gorlons.
Yeah, but Connor's doing some band too that's like pretty cool. I'm so bad with band names. Dude.
I am
don't
too, dude.
remember any of
But
this
those
shit.
Ross lived with me down when I had the spot in the bottoms with everybody. He lived with us in that big ass building we had. He was a rad dude.
Yeah. Actually, the last time I saw him was in Cincinnati.
No
We
shit.
were playing Cleveland. We were playing a show in Cleveland, and
He just happened to be in town.
yeah, he was like seeing some girl out there or something. But like, I was like, what the fuck?
That sounds like Ross. That sounds like Ross.
Like pull up to Cleveland and some guy you know from Kansas City that
Some
lives
dude
in Denver is in
is
Cleveland.
in Cleveland. Yeah, that's odd.
That's a weird thing too about like KC folk too. Like everywhere I go,
There's someone.
yeah, I'm hanging out with somebody from
Yeah.
Kansas City. There's like, especially if it's like football season too. There's a Kansas City bar, you know.
There's a bar. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
bar where everybody goes to watch the game
Like
or whatever.
the last 2 years we played this in Denver, this Rocker Mountain Ripper thing that
Mhm.
my buddy Micah puts on. So we've been in Denver for the first game of the season, the last 2 seasons for
Yeah.
the Chiefs, and there's this bar called Don's Club Tavern that's a Chiefs bar.
No, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Yep. Yeah, my daughter still lives in Cheyenne.
Oh, right on.
So I travel through there. I spent a lot of time down in
Wyoming?
Denver, yeah. Because I'll go through Denver. I mean, dude, Sam and Tommy used to live there, and
Who?
Sam Rap Shoots and Thomas.
Oh, yeah.
They both lived there. I used to stop. That's where I would get it to where I would
That
be,
house with like Jasper and all them, yeah.
Yep, and Jasper lived there. I would roll in like super early in the morning, like going to see my kid. I would leave like at the butt crack of dawn, so I'd get there a little before midday,
Yeah.
and I would stop and go see Sam for a minute, go get breakfast, and then take off to Cheyenne from there. It's a nice little break.
Yeah.
Yeah, Denver's a cool town. I saw a lot of good shows there. I was telling somebody that just in that little area of Colorado,
Mm-hmm.
like when I was out there in school, I saw Hank 3 with the Murder Junkies.
Yeah.
That was a cool show. I saw, dude, it was like weird because like back in the day, like the Necromantics and the Horror Pops played.
Ooh.
I saw Terror, the hardcore band, play
Did
a
he
big
spin
show.
the coffin bass?
He did
Yeah.
spin the coffin
Nice.
bass like 6 times.
Just
Dude, that was
constant-
full
just
blown
nonstop spinning
rockabilly
the coffin
Tyler,
bass,
man. I had
yeah.
the pompadour. I was like going to school to build hot rods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Learning body work and
little stereotype
although I was full blown stereotype.
Yeah.
Cuffed jeans, creepers.
segregation. Yeah.
I stayed out of the segregation, luckily.
No. I like to always razz like
Yeah.
rockabilly was like, oh, hey, you just missed that segregation, don't you?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. That's a weird thing, and that shit was huge here, dude. Like, again, I was like,
I love 50s
Oh, yeah.
rock and roll.
I was like
and
before,
rockabilly
like-
and country.
so
and
when I went
whatever,
before I
but-
went to school, like at 18, like it was like went from punk rock to being like, okay, well I work on cars, I'm gonna like grease my hair up, and then eventually became a thing where it's like, oh, I had to wait till I was 21 to even be a part of the scene.
Yeah.
Because these people never played a show where a minor could go to,
Yeah.
right? Like, but I mean,
I like that it's like working on cars. It's like, okay, I gotta get into this.
Well, I was already like,
where it's like,
it kind of pushed me into like, again, traipsing back through time, right?
Yeah.
But then it became a part where like I remember getting this garage rock camp from this comp. I didn't get it. I bought it at, oh man, maybe like Half Price Books or something. And it was like a CD. I think it was like 20 or 21. And it was one of those Garage Beat 66 albums.
Okay.
And I was like heavy into 50s rock and roll, 50s, 60s stuff. And then all of a sudden, I found this thing. And I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
This is like that early rock and roll, but mixed with punk rock. So it's like, it was like, oh, I found that. And then immediately, like, I'm like telling people, and they're like, oh, no, we only listen to like rockabilly. And I'm like, what the fuck?
It just made me think of this like Onion article thing where it was like balding punk is de facto skinhead.
I saw that thing the other day.
Which I've met that guy like 4 or 5 times at least. Where it's like as soon as they start going bald, the like page boy hat comes out. Or whatever.
Next thing you know, they got Doc Martens.
Yeah.
Then right after that, they're
now they always had Docs, but now they're Oxblood. Like,
now they're Oxblood. They all of a sudden they're into soccer.
Shirts,
they really like soccer, and then they're listening to Oi music only.
Or reggae or ska.
Oh God, they're fucking obsessed with it.
Yeah.
I
love that stuff, but
yeah.
Oi punk has always been a little.
I think that's why you and I have.
For me.
And maybe Benny and some of the other boys, like, we all like were so like drawn to each other because we weren't like we didn't put ourselves into these boxes or genre specific things of like, it's like maybe I was telling somebody this earlier that like maybe when I was like a teenager it was like we're fucking only listening to punk rock, dude, right? But then the minute after I got to being like
I think I did that
a senior in high school,
13 to 14, and then I was like, this is what.
And then after like 16, 17, 18 you start going like, yeah, but it's all this shit all sounds the same. Like one day you wake up and you realize like the Ramones are sick.
Yeah.
The Misfits are sick. But it's like, it's all the same. It's the same shit.
Well, and especially like by the time we were getting into this shit.
Yeah.
Like it was super homogenized as far, and that's like, I got so into punk as a teenager because it was like, this is a place for weirdos and outsiders. And like, you're allowed to be yourself. Or so I thought.
Right.
And then I like pretty quickly realized
you're
like
not.
I was like, oh, everybody looks the same. Like all the music sounds the same. Like everybody like talks a lot of shit, but like they're not about nothing. Like,
they're not about
they're
nothing.
like, like whatever like righteous cause you could take, but like you're still like racist and homophobic and women are property and all this, like, you know, it's
the same right now. It's literally the same.
It's just like jock kids essentially,
right.
Like the kids I was avoiding in high school that are, you know, like
I told a kid earlier,
got a studded leather jacket or something.
I was like, did you have this misconception about punk rock? And he was like, you know, he's like in his 20s. He's like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, in your mind, it's this like thing that nobody's ever made $1 off of, and like only cool people get into it. I was like, really? Like most of the people that like were early punk rock
the Clash
were all like, other than like the Clash, the Sex Pistols. But when you get into like 80s, like hardcore punk, right? Like those were all like rich kids and jocks, and like
Henry Rollins is also broke
right
now,
right?
You know, like they're doing fine.
Yeah,
like I don't know.
Rollins is,
but they were. That's another thing about like where not that I have a problem with hardcore, but it's like where punk turned into it kind of became like dudes just looking for a reason to like take their shirt off and like beat somebody up in a pit or something.
Then you like get into like New York hard. It's like weird, like the things were different, right? Like that was New York hardcore, right? Like in the 90s, it was like
more artsy fartsy,
right? Like people want to take their shirt off and beat each other up, but those people were also like street people that got into it. But then you like think like when you really think like listen to these people from like the Salad Days shit, like from DC. It's like these are all children of people who were like working in the government. Like,
what? There's like a conspiracy theory about that. Like
Yeah.
on like all the straight edge bands or whatever, it was like their parents were like in the CIA, and the way you neuter
a culture,
this like rebellious movement is by like making them Boy Scouts essentially. You know, like
that's weird. Like, because the East Coast shit, like Boston, New York hardcore. Like, see, I was way into like
forte, but.
so like even back in the day, like it was like this weird thing where it was like, punk rock, but also like a lot of hip hop, a lot of like, dude, like a lot of like what I call flossin' rap, like 3-6 Mafia, shit like that. So it was like I was very drawn to Madball. Like I was telling some dude today about Madball, and he's like, they're washed up. I'm like, who? I don't care. Like, what are you talking about, dude? I just saw them at Record Bar to a sold out crowd, and they fucking crushed it.
As long as they're still making their money.
Yeah,
dude,
they're like we're ruling. But this idea that these cats have about like, it's like gatekeeping. There's like, that's what I didn't like about it. It was like, if you're gonna be this, you can only be this and like this.
Well, but it's like also weird in that you like gatekeep, like that you're allowed to like have exposure or like interest in things that aren't
part
your
of that
niche or whatever. And that's like kind of what you were getting at earlier. It's like talking about like reggae or whatever, where it's like, yeah, I grew up with that. My dad's a reggae drummer. Like, has been my whole life. Like, so like, I don't know. Like, I was like getting like, I wasn't turned on to like most of like punk or whatever through that, or like through my parents or whatever, like, or rock and roll even in particular, like some stuff. But
yeah, my parents were like heavy like country music. Like, if like when you're talking about radio, like I was like an oldies 95 kid. I was like, I had a little Walkman.
Yeah,
I listened to oldies 95.
I had Abbey Road.
I was like, dude. Oddly enough, I was obsessed with. I didn't get into like late Beatles stuff until like my 20s. But as a kid, like the movie Help.
Oh yeah.
Like I was obsessed with that. I was obsessed with like the first Beatles recordings that were like all the 50s shit. You know?
Oh yeah, that stuff's great.
But like my dad was like the biggest Ted Nugent fan.
Yeah.
Like they were like big time. Like they would go to like these like wild like Southern rock concerts in the 70s and shit and 80s, and like that's what he turned me on to. But also for whatever weird reason, like my parents were always into like 80s music. Like 80s pop music specifically. So like I got turned on, like they used to play
like Peter Gabriel or
dude, like
Steve
Tears
Winwood?
for Fears.
Oh, okay.
Like
Dude,
everything.
Fears fucking rules.
Like everything. So like there would be like a Friday night where one of the radio stations, I think it was either Friday or Saturday, we would be playing board games at their at the house, and like it was like the 80s night on the radio, and it would be all that shit. Like
does it like 94.9 do like the 80s, but they have like club, like they put like, it's like it's kind of like a DJ, like where it's like 80 songs, but sometimes they'll put like
I don't know,
a dancier beat.
I've literally I haven't listened to terrestrial radio in and I don't know how long.
Yeah. Well, you're out of this world, man.
I'm just out of this. I'm in outer space, dude. Yeah. I'm so deep on like.
I do it sometimes because I don't feel like.
I don't have an antenna. I don't have an antenna hooked up on any of my shit, like my stereo, my car.
Yeah, it's usually just NPR, but I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, and see, because I can listen to NPR through Spotify.
I would never ever do that though. I'm not gonna be like searching for NPR.
I'm a weirdo. Do I listen to like weird podcasts?
Podcasts, yeah. Like
I'll listen to like. My favorite, like, people knock Spotify. Like, a lot of people I know that are, like, again, these, like, weird, pretentious gatekeepers about, like, oh, my God. And to me, it would be, like, I gave an analogy earlier of, like, imagine me doing all these videos, right? Mm-hmm. But then I was like, hey, dude, Friday night, you want to come over and watch all these weird ass interviews I've done
got
with
them on
people?
VHS.
Yeah, I've got them on a VHS. You want to come watch them? It's like, why would I do that? What's the point? Like,
or no, you're like, I have a bunch of copies. Do you have a Betamax player?
Yeah,
like, you know,
right.
Like,
this kid was literally today. This kid Max tells me he's like,
the best format.
We're putting our shit out on cassette. I was like, homie, I don't even think they make cassette players.
Well, I mean, we're putting a cassette out.
I get it. I do get it. But also like. Could you just put it on Spotify for me? And then
well, and the cassette comes with a download.
Right. Too. And I'll also like, I will, you know, I'll buy it, like put a record out. Like I'll buy a record. It was that same kid I was telling you, like nobody has money for records. I'm like, dude, I literally have a record allowance for myself. That's like the one.
Well, also, like, has he never been to a thrift store? Like,
I don't know.
You could find some Herb Alpert, Tijuana brass.
I have a problem because
50 cents all day long, baby.
I sold my entire record collection to my sister a few years ago. And then she ended up selling it back to me recently. It was like super cheap.
Is that a markup?
No markup. She had sold a few things. It was actually a markdown. They had sold and traded a couple items. But dude, it was like primo shit, like pretty things. There was like Standells. I had there was a bunch of rare garage records that her exact words to me were, yeah, me and my old man filed all of these records right here. Is this big section of my records. She's like, we filed this in the Amanda's Brothers gay shit that nobody knows what it is. And I was like, what? And I pull it out and I'm like, oh yeah, no problem. Here's the $200 for all these records.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what this is? And she's like, no. And I would show her and she'd be like, what the fuck? I was like, yeah, it's like a $400 record. She's like, what? There's like Seeds records.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this shit rules.
Yeah. Oh man, I had a bunch of stuff from when I started buying records, like 14, 15, because it was like antique stores by my house.
Right,
and it was really before like vinyl picked up again. And I was finding like OG shit like $3 to $5 in great condition. I still have some of those records, but there's a bunch that got lost from the times of living with all the fucking dope heads.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, I figured out like who did it.
Right.
Not to name any names, but it was like they stole to their taste. It was like all my Velvet Underground albums, all my Rolling Stone albums. Know who did it.
I wonder who that
New York
was.
Dolls, like whatever. But it's like, man, you just went and sold it to half price books.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you take the stupid shit? Like,
yeah. Also, they didn't give you shit for this.
Steal it. Exactly.
They gave you like $2
You didn't get any money for it. At least take it and keep it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna rob me,
or sell it to one of our other friends to where I could get it back.
Sell it back to me.
Right.
I promise.
Oh, dude, there's a couple times where like I keep it pretty chill most of the time, and I'm like, I've been on a kick lately of buying like new records. Like I'll buy whatever record, but like I mean by new I mean current releases that just came out, right? But man, you know, I'm like a huge Bob Seger fan.
Yeah.
And there was this record that I really didn't even know about. I kind of heard about before.
I want that back in '77 album. But.
Yeah, well, this is Brand New World, and it's in between the System and the Silver Bullet Band. And it's just him and an acoustic guitar. It only exists on vinyl, from what I understand. And I was in Sister Ann's, and it was like, it was like $90, and I was just like, yeah,
fuck.
If I looked it up, and they're like, they sell for like, they always price their shit right there. You know what I mean? Price to sell. But I looked up how much they go for online. I'm like, yeah, it was sealed still, like new sealed. And so I bought that, but I was like, that was the one. And then it was like 3 weeks before I bought another record, you know.
I was looking all over for that back in '77 album because I wanted Rosalie.
Yeah.
And was like looking up. And that also has like his version of Get Out of Denver.
Yeah.
Which like he does this like 2-part harmony on the whole thing, like with that. Yeah. Have you ever heard that song?
Yeah.
Get Out of Denver. Yeah.
No, yes.
I don't know.
Pretty sure I have that record sitting right down there in
like
the cabinet.
Black and yellow?
I believe so.
Oh yeah, it's worth some money.
Oh yeah.
But I ended up finding Rosalie on 45.
Okay.
And I was like, fuck yeah. And like super pumped. And then I found it again and I gave it to Joey. From the list.
yeah, dude. There's like that Mongrel album, the Bob Seger System album,
Yeah, yeah.
Mongrel. Again, that's just not on.
I just have their first album.
Yeah. Then they finally released the super early stuff on a vinyl, which was cool because some of that stuff hadn't been available for a long time. And I don't know if it's just shit like he's got to own. I'd imagine by now he probably went back and bought that shit up. You know what I mean?
From whatever
Bo janky ass record label,
like independent label from like 60,
66,
yeah,
64. Who knows? I mean, that dude's been.
A lot of
dude,
those
I have
labels
like
were
if
just
I see
regional.
if I find any of his records and they're like cheap,
yeah,
and I'm like out picking or like I buy a bunch of records or whatever, it goes down there. Like I must have 15 copies of The Distance, and people come over and they're like, "What the fuck, dude?" Same thing with Steppenwolf.
Yeah, I do that stuff with like.
But I have like Japanese
Depending
copies of
on what it is,
Steppenwolf
but
records
Beatles or
now and
whatever,
like weird shit, you know what I mean? But like people tell me, they're like, "What do you mean Steppenwolf?" I'm like, "Oh, you think this is the Magic Carpet Ride band?" But this band is like,
I mean,
they are, but
yeah,
there's like,
Magic Carpet Ride fucking rules.
it rules. But you get deep on them and you're like, "Whoa."
No, they got some shit.
It's really
Steppenwolf,
good.
Yeah.
I've been listening to I got the newest Viagra Boys album recently.
Yeah.
That band's pretty fucking sick.
I've only heard a little bit. I
They're
don't
cool.
keep up.
Yeah, it's
like,
hard to.
Something has to catch me. Like, and all the digging I used to do and like seeking out stuff, it's like so hard to do in a way now. But like, or maybe I've just gotten lazier. But like, I just let things find me.
Yeah, no,
like,
and
I know that the people I know, or like
somebody's gonna tell you about something,
and if I hear it. And or like usually what does it for me is I'm just out somewhere and I hear something.
Right.
And I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And like try to Shazam it or something. I don't know. Like
right.
But like figure out what it is and like but that's so I just don't keep up with anything. I just kind of like really flowing on through life on just like what is piquing my interest anymore.
Can't think of the cat's name. I'll have to find it and turn you on to him. But we went to see Whitey Morgan play at the Uptown Theater. He's like outlaw country dude.
Okay.
Been fans of him for years. Long like we opened for him at Torque Fest one year. That year that we all went up there. This is
Torque Fest.
Torque Fest. Yeah, I wish it was Twerk Fest. But the guy that opened for him, his name is beyond me right now, just was amazing. Even Wednesday night, Shelby was like, "I'm buying you a ticket to or just asked me, you want to go to this show?" And I was like, "Sure." So she got me a ticket, and I went. It was this guy, Jesse Daniel, and it was some dude from like some small ass town in Texas. Yeah. You know what I mean? That has this like legit ass honky tonk band.
That's
and
cool.
I saw it, and it was like
there's a lot of good stuff on that kind of tip, like country and like.
But it was nice to go and
like
not
on a kind of.
I didn't really
authentic
seek it out beforehand. Yeah. I seeked it out enough to be like, okay, I'll check this out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I went, I was like thoroughly impressed with it. I was like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
yeah.
Especially if you like, or if you do just show up and someone like knocks your socks off, you didn't hear it at all, and you're like, whoa, like. You know, if you didn't check something out at all beforehand, you like end up in the show and like something.
Oh
like,
yeah.
Whoa. Like.
Well, yeah, and I mean that's what you know, like I just saw Wayne paying the Shit Stains again for the first time.
Yeah, they're playing on Sunday.
I know I'm going, dude, because Total Sham's playing.
I'm working. Yeah, I'll be there.
I know, because Conrad was all worried about getting a hold of you, Austin. He's like the lead singer. He's like, is Rory said he would like book me because he's doing that Conrad Hell and the High Waters.
I gave him.
I know. I was like,
I gave him dates and he didn't get back to me. So.
See, I know you're watching, motherfucker. But because that's his band.
Or I gave him a. Yeah, I know. Yeah. We were talking. I gave him. I was like, these are dates that are open except for these ones.
Yeah. He needs to get on. That new shit he's doing is tight. I like it a lot too. Yeah. It's really cool, and it's growing now because they've added another guy, and then they're gonna keep adding guys. It's heavy growlers vibes.
Yeah, he's like telling me it's like lounge, whatever. Like, but I was like telling them if they want to do a show, it's like you should like curate the whole thing, like make it like this, like where you're gonna play, like set it up, you know, like get the vibe.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think that's what they're working on because they're all like wearing suits
Bring
now.
some plants in or something.
Like they all wear high water pants. I think is like the whole vibe. Like so, it's like a whole thing because the name. Yeah, that's where the name came from.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but
Hell or High Waters. Yeah.
Hell or High Waters. But it's really good. The songs are good, and that's what I told him because I'd heard some before. I was like, dude, these songs are really good. Like, and you can kind of hear like a whole band. It's not just like in his mind. I think it's like Frank Sinatra crooner music. In my mind, I'm like, oh, this is like sick rock and roll, dude. Like,
the first song I heard, I was immediately thought it was like Lou Reed, but
yes,
yeah,
that too, yes.
But it's cool, yeah,
it's good. Yeah, and you guys are playing. You got 2 record release shows, right?
Yeah, we're doing the 31st of March at the 8th Street Tap Room in Lawrence, and then the April 1st at the Ship.
2-nighter.
Yeah.
So I should go to Lawrence then.
For the better one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go to both of them.
The sound will be better at.
My sister lives out there, so I get her and her old man to come out because she would dig on that. Lawrence is. I haven't been to Lawrence in a.
Have you been to the tap room?
Nah.
It's just like a little basement.
How long has it been there?
A long time, yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been there, if it's the same place.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a show in Lawrence, and I guess I went and saw American Aquarium. This weird, it's like they've been around for a long time. They call themselves rock and roll. I don't really know. It would be in the country music genre, I guess. I don't know. The dude's an incredible songwriter. This dude, BJ Barnum. He's like a sober guy now. We've been sober the same amount of time, and I found him a few years ago, and I was like, it's one of those bands where it's like, if you're on that tip, like, you kind of connect with this dude's music, I think. But that was at the Granada. That was the last time.
That, like, you know, like, I feel like people, like, they're always like, you know so much about me. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I, like, get dumber by the day.
I feel the same way.
I if it wasn't because there's more new stuff, and I'm not keeping up, and, like, I just, like, don't know. And, like,
well, it's like Viagra Boys, dude. Like, everybody was like, I heard this song called Lick the Bag. Yeah. Right? And it's literally this song that's like, it sounds crazy. It's got these crazy like saxophone and this like, I'll play it for you. Yeah. But it's like wild, and it's about running out of drugs, and the dude being like, there's more fun to be had
if you lick the bag.
If you lick the bag. And it's like, oh, this is sick. There's some song that's called Sports, where it's like, sports.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And that's the song people talk about. And I'm like, that's like,
what,
and in my head, I'm going,
okay.
I look at everyone and I'm like, are you stupid?
Yeah.
And they're like, what? I'm like, that's like the least cool thing that this band is doing. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
I think that's like, I'm pretty bad about like,
it's like if you hear the wrong song by a band too, right? Like, that can make you go, oh, I don't want to hear this shit.
I mean, to be honest, dude, like, I'll probably give most things about 30 seconds.
Oh, for sure.
Like, you gotta fucking, and like, maybe if I'll be like, all right, it's a long intro, like, try to skip up and then just see where it's going. But like, I don't know. I can, it might be pretentious as fuck, but like, I feel like I can kind of, I know like what my predilection is and like what I'm looking for generally. And it's like, if you're not hitting me like pretty quick, then you're going to lose me real fast.
Dude, you know? And between Spotify, like they do that based off of the shit you listen to, right? Yeah. So it'll turn you on, like they have like a...
They're always trying to get me to listen to shit I already listened to though.
Well, they have like the new music release one. So like the Discover Weekly thing is like I don't need that. It's already things I know about. I'm not discovering anything new here. Yeah. But the new release part I like that they make every week because it turns you on to shit that's coming out. But also I've been like, sometimes I just like shout out to Sister Ann's. That's my spot.
Yeah.
Jim and Frank up there. I'll go up there and just tell them, I'm like, yo, what shit? You guys know the shit I like. Like what don't I know about? And he turned me on to this band called Chubby and the Gang.
Oh, yeah,
and it ended up being sick. I had never heard that, you know, so I bought that record, you know what I mean? He's like, here, buy this. Like, this is dope. And, dude, I'm like way into that band Idols.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I'm like, damn.
I like it.
I like it. It's cool. It's different.
There's
My favorite thing is like all these.
It's
like,
kind of like Sleaford mods, but like
I fucking
with a
love
hardcore,
Sleaford mods.
hardcore band behind it.
Yeah.
But I can get down with stuff like that, but I've always been kind of weird about like the talking bands.
Yeah.
Like there was a band back in the early aughts called Art Brute that was like that, where it's like it only works if you talk like this.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have an accent like that, then it's really boring over the track. You know,
Yeah.
like if it was just like you or me being like, there's like, bam, 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 and like I was walking down the street, and then I saw this guy. Like, and it's just like, you know, it'd be like...
It'd be weird.
But
But like,
it doesn't sound as cool unless...
Sleaford Mods it's like to me, that's like an electronic band, but there's a dude doing poetry over it.
Yeah, but it's still...
weird, but it's like this whole thing. It's like punk as fuck, though.
Yeah, well, and that's where... All right, here's a little... Bringing it back is like... That's where I got into punk, is that like, there is shit that is punk. Because it is so unapologetically itself.
Right.
And, like, that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like, you're the individual. You're the one here that's like, we are fucking snowflakes, Donald Trump, whatever, or whoever.
Yeah.
Like, Ron DeSantis. But, like, that's the point. Is like, I'm the only one that is me and it's got, like, my perspective.
Yeah.
And that's, like, that's what's punk. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, I'm going to tell you how it is, how I see it, or, like, how I feel about shit. Like, that's my expression. And that's, like, ultimately what all this shit's always been, right? And
Right.
It's punk.
Just not give a fuck.
Yeah, fuck you if you don't like it.
Screaming Jay Hawkins.
Yeah.
I talk about him all the time because that's like the punk. That's like one of the punkest dudes ever.
The only shirt that Wrong Crowd ever made, we were going to do a bunch of shirts of just, like, people that we thought were in our gang. That was the Wrong Crowd. We only ended up making one. It was just a picture of Screaming Jay Hawkins that said Wrong Crowd.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. Screaming Jay is like, dude, it's just wild. Even Little Richard, dude.
Oh,
like,
I mean, he's the king and queen of rock and roll. In my opinion,
both,
know, like,
and all in one.
Yeah.
And like, you know.
You ever seen that interview where he's talking about Jimi Hendrix? And he is like, gotta be like coked to the gills or something. He's got this like pancake makeup on and this blue polyester like sequin thing with the matching headband. The bouffant is giant. And he's talking about when Jimi Hendrix was in his band, and he's like, "Oh, when Jimmy played, it made my big toe shoot up in my boot." And he's like, "Everybody's a star." So I said, "Everybody's a star, but you got to get put back in the dipper and then poured over the earth." Like, dude, he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. Dude, there's like this like later stuff that's like kind of heavy sounded that he did.
But he became like a preacher or something.
They all did.
Yeah.
Which guy?
Al Green did it too.
Yeah.
Everybody.
There's that guy Swamp Dogg.
Yeah. I don't know if I've ever heard
Dude,
Swamp Dogg.
You have heard Swamp Dogg, right? Swamp Dogg is this like crazy dude. He's a black guy. He wrote this like wild kind of psychedelic shit that if you listen to, it sounds like he wrote these songs on Mushroom, like based off the lyrics. He had this song called Total Destruction of Your Mind. But dude, I'm gonna play it for you before you leave. But he wrote his best friend was Johnny Paycheck.
Oh, okay.
And so he wrote Don't Take Her, She's All I Got.
Oh.
Right? And then, like, even, like, now, he just did an album with John...
original.
He did an album, and him and John Prine did a bunch of songs together. Like, right before John Prine died.
Okay.
And, like, dude, Swamp Dogg is, like... It's, like, one of those crazy things I found out about from that Mike Judge Tales of the Tour Bus show.
I've never got to watch that shit.
Dude.
I don't have Showtime.
Hit that free week trial on your Amazon.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
And just watch that. Season 1's all country and western shit.
Yeah.
But dude, and there's like all of them. There's only one of them where like the Billy Joe Shaver is one, and that's the only one where the dude they're talking about is still alive. The rest of them like
they're all
long gone dead, dude. But like I'm a big I have like every Johnny Paycheck. I've sought out every Johnny Paycheck. Johnny Paycheck, Van Morrison, Bob Seger, like those.
See, Van's my dude. That was like from that was like a thing when I was like 16 or whatever, and like hanging out with punk kids, and I'm like, Yeah, I like Van Morrison. I mean, I liked them too,
Right.
which is like
You have to like it all.
that shit's punk.
It's all good.
Like,
Dude,
you know, like. But
them is punk as fuck.
I mean, some of it.
From
but,
the name,
yeah.
like just the name alone,
Them.
like them.
Who? No, it's them.
Them,
Uh,
yeah.
But
I fucking hate the Who.
what?
I've never been a Who guy.
Why?
I don't know what, I think it was because I don't know, dude. I just never could.
Like the early stuff, like
No, the
Can't
early shit's
explain,
okay. Like
like-
the early shit's okay, but like, you know,
the mod stuff is unbeatable, man. Like
I hung
also
out-
like the high number stuff. There's some cool.
Yeah,
There's
I've
some really
never
cool
been-
like high number stuff. Where it was like they were called the Who. They changed their name to the High Numbers, and then they became the Who again. But there's some recordings that are like
I'll have to
real
check
cool.
that out.
Yeah,
So,
I got
like,
tracks I could show you.
Yeah, the later shit, and then it's like you hang out like if you're
I mean,
around
it's like Pink Floyd or something. I don't know. There's a lot of
I was like
these motherfuckers were given too much money. That's what happened.
yeah,
you know?
and dude, I was like around all these like sharp skinheads when I was a teenager and punk people, and they
Yeah.
were obsessed with like quadrophenia. But then they would be
See,
like, yeah,
That movie- I saw that when I was like 17, and me and my boy were like, we're mods now, and we were like wearing like shark skin suits and ties in Florida,
right.
like just sweating. Like
See,
it's
I
just
saw
gross.
it and wanted to
But-
fucking get a Harley Davidson.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Like-
Well, but I thought that stuff was cool too.
Right.
But-
no, yeah.
Somebody asked me like I was at a show, and they're like, I don't remember what prompted it. They're like, "Are you a mod or a rocker?" I was like, "I'm a mocker." Like, and they're
A
like, "That's the
mocker?
right answer." Like,
That's great. Yeah, I just never. It was never a big. There was this kid when I was growing up. He was like, "How do you not like the Who?" I was like, "I don't know. It's kind of like Led Zeppelin, dude. It just,
Yeah.
I just don't like."
see, Led Zeppelin, I like him. Like, but
Yeah, it's just not. So it's not like I shut this shit off if I hear it.
Yeah,
but it's not like.
I just like early Who. It's
Yeah, I don't go.
It's-
I'm not like.
killer.
I'm not putting that on the player ever. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's not coming. But I don't have any of that early shit
Yeah,
either.
yeah.
You know, it's all I can ever think about is fucking Elton John in that Tommy movie, man. It's just like-
yeah.
it's just, like, that's
See,
it.
a lot of that shit's goofy.
It's
yeah.
really disco-y, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like it's like disco Who.
Yeah.
Just turn me off of it.
The big like theatric dramatic. I mean, even like
Yeah.
most of the music that so like the Quadrophenia soundtrack has some cool stuff on it, but most of it isn't the Who's.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
You know, like there's some cool, but yeah, like a lot of the songs they were writing for it, it wasn't. I don't know.
Wasn't that great?
Yeah, they were getting too big for their britches or something. Pete Townsend was
Yeah. They were always just,
about to do some research.
yeah. Yeah. I'm researching. I just seen Gary.
We'll let
Glitter
you
say-
guys go look that one up.
Yeah, go look up Pete Townsend
Research.
researching pedophilia.
Did you hear about Gary Glitter?
He just got arrested again.
Again.
Dude, it cracks me up so much.
They
Like-
got out so the Chiefs could win the Super Bowl, and
Right, but
Yeah.
it's like so funny that these people, like the same people who are like that is like all the things like social justicely that people like are like, oh my god, like the name, the this, the tomahawk chop. I'm like, none of you are even caring about the fact that the fucking band's anthem is like,
I mean, is it like it's not like official. I think it's just.
I mean, they
What,
play
like,
it on the
is
commercial.
it
It's
just
just
the
funny.
Chiefs, though? I feel
I
like
think
they
it's
play
just
that, like,
I don't know,
every-
but if they do, it's even that makes it
I know it
worse.
is, like,
if
more
it's
for
like
the
just
Chiefs,
like a
though.
jock jam thing, you know what I mean, like a stadium rock song.
I mean,
it just makes it like the irony of it is funny
I like
to me.
the song. I don't know.
It's not
I
a
like
bad
Gary
song.
Glitter. I like
Hopefully-
Gary
yeah,
Glitter.
hopefully
like,
Gary
he's got
just-
some good songs, but
Didn't fucking after you fuck kids, it's hard for me to like.
well, then we can't
Respect-
listen to a lot of guys. you
Yeah.
know, like
Well, yeah, that's true.
like
There's
almost
a lot of things.
any of them.
Yeah.
We'll diverge on that note. I mean, like, we
Yeah.
were talking about Scream J. Hawkins too. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know about ages, but I'm sure they were young. But you know how many like
Oh
it was-
yeah.
you know
I
he
mean,
has like a
Chuck
whole
Berry.
thing, like a whole website, like or a thing like Screaming Jay Hawkins will, where it's like all of his illegitimate children can like meet each other, and they have this like annual reunion He's got like fucking like 50, 60 kids or something like that.
Don't the dudes from Brewer and Shipley have like a bunch of kids? Like, I know that they have kids here.
Oh, I know. What's his name? Tim Shipley or whatever.
Yeah.
Tom Shipley? I can't remember. I know his son.
Yeah.
He was at Easy.
Oh, no shit.
The dude.
Yeah.
And Pat was like playing a bunch of Van Morrison, and he was like into it. I don't know.
It's just a weird thing. I just remember it was like weird because that band was playing here all the time.
Line,
yeah,
yeah.
one stroke over the line.
We had a bunch of legitimate kids.
That was like our parents' age group going to like the Cowtown ballroom.
Well, Dan Myers knows a bunch of it because they're all from Rolla.
Oh yeah, yeah. Dan knows everybody.
Yeah. Well, if you're from like
Southern Missouri, he knows you.
Yeah. Everybody knows everybody down there.
All right. Where can everybody go get the record, Rory?
I know it's on our website's thewhiffsband.com. So I think there's a link for our store there. But it's also available on Bandcamp. It's digthewhiffs.bandcamp.com.
Tight.
Probably
from the record label too, like Dig
Records.
Records.
Yeah, Dig Records. But I think that goes to the Dig store. But
yeah.
Streaming on everything and YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music.
Spotify. What's the Instagram for the band?
I think it's just the Whiffs.
The Whiffs, yeah. Guys, look Rory up. You'll have to search to find him on the gram. I don't remember what your Instagram is.
I'm not gonna tell.
Yeah,
him
you don't need that. He'll probably just deny you access anyway.
Yeah, you gotta. It's private.
Yeah, it's private. You gotta know him to
You gotta.
But
follow.
If you
want to see my feet pictures, yeah.
And then Jake, the rest of the guys, Zach. What's the other guy's name?
Joey. Yeah, look at the credits.
Yeah,
figure out who's in my band.
Yeah, I'm looking at the credits. I couldn't remember his name. Old Jakey Cardwell, CNC drums.
Yeah, he had a kid on the Oscars, right?
Do what?
Jake got a kid on the Oscars.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't watch shit like that. I'm like,
it was like whatever.
I'm one of those weird people that like when I talk shit.
The band
about
that David Byrne played with.
Okay,
I
that's cool.
The name, yeah.
But no, dude, I'm like pretty strong. Like
I don't watch it.
Yeah, like I don't like some chick that like fancies herself like I'll tell you who it is off camera. It's like a musician. But one night I had never met her. I'd seen her play, and yeah, real trendsetter. Talks all this shit, and then she sat there talking to me about celebrities for like 4 hours. I was like, "Why are you obsessed with all this shit?" And she's like, "What?" I was like, "I don't know, man. Like, can you talk about something else? Like, I don't care about."
You think they go home and talk about you?
Yeah, like I don't care about this shit. I don't even watch. Just like terrestrial. I don't know the last time I saw a television commercial, dude. Like.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's nobody needs that.
Commercials on like streaming services.
Yeah.
Just as stupid. But.
I won't even, dude. I won't. If you have commercials on your shit.
No.
See ya. I'm out. I'm not paying for that.
I love that. That's awesome.
I'm not paying to.
You have to pay for something that like it used to be you pay for it, no commercials, and now it's like you pay for it
and there is commercials. Like no, if you have commercials, I'm out, baby. I'll start bootlegging this shit off the internet again, like I used to back in the day. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching, Rory. I fucking love you, dog.
Yeah, I love you too, man. Thanks for having me over.
Yeah.